Hello everybody, I'm Gary from Lantana Removal, Queensland. I've been clearing lantana for over 30 years professionally, and we eradicate it very simply and very well. Now, I've been, as you know, trying to get answers from state government, federal government and local councils as to the state of the lantana situations through every watercourse, every roadside, all the way from Petrie through to Sanford, and just absolutely horrific through Sanford. And what I've found out, that Brisbane City Council were very arrogant and sarcastic in my questioning them about the lantana, and they pulled up very short on what actually is the ruling on lantana. Whereas because Moreton Bay Regional was caught so far off guard with Matt Constance, and I wrote to Darren Grimwade, and I haven't heard back since the initial thing when Matt came in and said, you know what, you should come in and talk to us at a sit-down conference. It's quite interesting. The guy was very apologetic that they hadn't responded in the 5 weeks since I wrote it, or whatever it was, 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it was. I think it's closer to 5, but still haven't heard from the state Premier, the Queensland State Premier. The New South Wales Premier passed us on about 2 weeks ago to the Environment Minister, but I haven't heard anything from that thing there, and I've heard nothing at all from the Prime Minister, Mr. Malcolm Turnbull, in relation to this stuff. So finally, some of the truth starts coming out. Moreton Bay Regional Council said that the laws have been changed. Officially, they've been changed under the Biosecurity Act, which I was never aware of. There was no consultation anywhere that they made public that they've taken lantana off the weeds list. Okay, as far as they are concerned, and this mob is the first to, the Moreton Bay Regional Council is the first to confirm outright that they do not do anything with lantana anymore. You know, if a resident obviously kicks up enough of a fuss, I've heard that they will go out there and spot clear specific spots, but it is completely off the list, and they are under no obligation with it. But he did say that if it's on your private land, there are clauses and sections that they will enforce, and they do enforce, and they do physically remove it at your cost. Okay, which was what I'd been told from other inquiries I've made. I can't even remember where that came from, but I know for a fact up near I was up near Karoi, and there was I didn't meet the residents, but the resident had been, a lady on her own, had been being threatened very extensively by council up there, that they were going to come in, they were going to bring contractors in and forcibly remove it at her cost and then hand her the bill. Now, he was a little bit more careful and a little bit more clever, that he more or less alluded that they'd probably find something else that meant they had to take that action. But it was quite interesting, isn't it, that they might take that action if there's something else on the property that the lantana is protecting, which is exactly what I've always said to you guys, is that the lantana is in front of and protecting other even worse weeds than lantana. But how does a government secretly take lantana off the list when lantana now is down every watercourse and in the high country all over the place, and factually there's no more removal on their side of it? Ours, we're actually committing an offence. Okay, lantana has to be removed, don't get me wrong. They better not change the actual policy to try and take it back the other way, because where lantana now exists is going to see massive what's the names of the increases in the infestations, and in areas that it will just be unstoppable in another couple of years because of this policy change. Now, how the hell can the state government turn around and put into place legislation that says that they're doing over this land clearing stuff? Oh no, we're going back to Campbell Newman days, so it's all good, it's great. You will get the land cleared. If you pay enough of a permit, they'll probably call it, or whatever it is, you'll be able to clear land, but it'll just be a very expensive permit. They're not about the environment. There's no way in the wide world this government or the Malcolm Turnbull government is about the environment. Have a look at the amount of infestations that there is no way any wildlife is getting to any of our assets and our flora. No way in the wide world are they getting anywhere near it. And that's actually very disgusting, and I've had people from Sanford say it, and if I was them, I'd be really jumping up and down when the actual local government and the state government say to you that your property is an oasis to the wildlife, because everything else is completely nil to the animals. All of the state forests, all of the national parks are choked with this garbage, and most of those national parks and state forests are higher than we are. So all that seed mass is being washed further and further down those courses. I can clear Lantana at 20 and 30 degrees, no problems at all. Yeah, it's costly, but no problems at all. And I can meet just about every one of their requirements that they stipulate is the requirement for Lantana to be cleared over 5% grade, over 5 degree grade, over 5%. You cannot push the Lantana anymore and take the soil with it, or take the top structure of the land with it. Okay? They have put these things in place so they can claim they can't do it. I can do it, and anybody else out there can do it. Average Australians should not be being hoodwinked like this and quietly sitting back, because this is our agricultural industry that is going to fall over. It's going to collapse when this stuff is going another couple of years completely unchecked. Every watercourse it has access to, every watercourse it commands, and they have just thrown their hands up and said it's too hard. You know, we can move millions of tons of dirt per day mining, and the government tells us we cannot clean up a lousy stinking plant like this, where they let it get into these places and they let it get to this level. They didn't stop clearing Lantana last month, last year, or 3 years ago. This has been going on for a very long time, secretly and quietly, so we didn't know about it. You know, all of us need to open up our voices. We need to go and grab our farmers, and we need to stand shoulder to shoulder with our farmers, our primary producers, and say, you know what? These guys need their land rights. They also need this stuff cleaned up, as well as all the other terrible weeds that are out there that are even worse than it is. And it's going to protect them. It protects them today to an enormous extent. And the government secretly passed all this so they didn't have to tell us. Lantana's not even mentioned in there anymore. It's an alluded thing to actually the whole network. So the biosecurity is what? What is it? It's worthless? They put together this national weeds strategy, is it, or something like that? What did they do? Look at the level of this infestation through all of your yards, out on your streets, and you're fighting an endless battle at your cost, while the government says, we gave up on it. It was too hard for us, so we gave up on it. You know, how the heck can Mr. Turnbull hold his head up in Parliament? How can these guys, how can the Labor Party in the Queensland state government hold their head up, having changed these laws that they've changed about land care, and our animals, our fauna cannot even get to the assets. Instead, our properties become the oasis. People should be going nuts and going, are you serious? You can't be serious. Every watercourse, this plant thrives on water. These guys have now stopped removing it from anywhere. It has permanent and fixed access to water and watercourses and the high country. What is going to happen with this weed in the future? It's now been given up on. Think about it. It increases at 20-30% per year. What is going to happen in the years to come? These geniuses had these people come to them and say, hey, listen, you know, we can't beat it because we can't beat it. Well, that's your problem. Farmers have been beating Lantana forever. We need to give away the chemicals, stop chemicaling the stuff, because we cause too much damage to the structure of the ground and the soil health below the ground. We cause too much havoc there. We need to mechanically remove it. We need to remove it from the high country, from every high surface where it has access to water, and from every watercourse. Now the government's given away $500 million last week to this, $140 million to that, $148 million to something else, and zero on Lantana. We gave up on it because it was too tough for us. My goodness, we need to start really getting after this, because I've been through Moreton Bay Regional, zone, whatever you want to call it, ward. You want to have a look at what it's like. Please, please, chuck your family in a car, go down to Petrie and go for a drive from Petrie out to Dayborough, okay? Grab a little snack at the thing out there and support the locals, and then drive on down to Sanford. Or stop at the Sanford coffee shops at the other end and come back the other way, okay? Have a look at the infestations. It is just incredible. Down both sides of the road, down every watercourse, and this isn't special. Drive any highway, drive from here to Karoi, and look at the Lantana down the highway. Look at the vines that are taking over now everywhere. Go for a drive along Roberts Road down here and have a look at the vines that are started on the side of the road and now are climbing and choking every tree they can get their little grubby paws on both sides of the road there. And the council drives past them every single day going, la, 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 la. I tell you what, this has got to change. Greenies aren't now as much faced by trees being removed, and I know that's a contentious issue, as much as this weed issue is going to be something we absolutely rule the day that they gave up on this in secret a long time ago. But they have the hide to put laws in there and claim that they have some sort of ecological ethos. What a load of rubbish. What an absolute joke. Whatever you changed that law, it wasn't to protect the trees, and it was not to protect the fauna. There's no way you were trying to protect the fauna. You can't even get to a tree. How could you be possibly protecting the fauna? And you go into the state forests or the national parks and have a look in there. And as I said before, a lot of that country's higher than us. It is just pumping that stuff straight down the watercourses. So the properties that aren't infected now will be overrun in the future. You will be paying enormous amounts of money to fight a battle that they've given up on. And if they change the laws, if we kick up enough fuss and they change the laws to legalise Lantana and say, well, everybody can have Lantana now, you want to really start taking that seriously, because what will come of this will ruin our agricultural industry. It will just decimate our ability to be able to feed our people. How can these people actually give up on weeds? Any gardener, any wildlife carer knows how terribly stressed and strained our flora network is. And yet the governments have the hide to tell us that our places are actually the only places left. You want to complain about farmers shooting animals on their farms because they're the only oasis left to those animals. All of the state forests and all of those other things are all no-go zones for those animals. Animals have to walk for miles. They can't get into creeks and water holes because there is that much lantana choking that stuff out. I will have some drone footage put up there for you. I hope you enjoy it. Unfortunately, I can't do voiceovers but it really needs to have voiceovers, but I just don't. My computer doesn't. I can't get that side of it to work properly, and it's a bit beyond me. So I have to get these messages out there. Please stick with us. Please share the heck out of these things and get this information out to everybody, that we need to rally around this immediately. We can't wait until the election for the federal government happens. We need to be stamping all over this now and going, this ain't going to happen this way. Our ecology cannot afford this. Anyway, I'm Gary. Thank you very much for joining us. Lantana Removal Queensland. Give us a call if you have issues you need attended to.